Good evening, folks, and welcome back for another episode of the Turbo Tuesday Talk Show. Thanks for joining us today, and we are going to be hearing from a fan favorite Piston Cup racer who has been building his career on lots of persistence and hard work, and he has truly been an inspiration to all. Please welcome Sage Vanderspin. Sage, so glad you could join us tonight. Thank you, Turbo Tractor. It really is a pleasure. Well, a lot of people are very excited to see your face on the show tonight. You've really built up a huge fan base in the racing world, and you've only been competing for how long now? Well, starting this year, I've only been competing officially for 2 years in the Piston Cup. Wow, so not very long yet, but you've worked hard, haven't you? Many times your persistence has been noted. How does your persistence play into your success as a racer? For me, persistence is the main thing that has given me my success. Right away, I didn't stand out as one of the most promising racers, but I knew what my goals were, to compete in the Piston Cup full time. And I've worked for it all this time, ever since I was young. The thing that keeps me going is a will to overcome, and I feel like I've done well at that so far, which is why I am here today. I see, and that's great. You briefly told me about some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome, and there have been quite a few. What were they, and how did you eventually beat those obstacles? Well, the main thing that really set me back for a while was a major internal injury that I got to my combustion that happened during my second season in the Junior Piston Cup Racing Series during a wreck. Mechanics told me that it would be at least 2 years before I made a full return, but I was able to get back to it in under 6 months, and I still qualified for the next round. Wow, that's quite a comeback. How did you manage that? Well, I think it's mostly because I was willing to persist. I put in the necessary work to do it. That involves some basic training regimens every morning and every evening that my combustion could tolerate, and gradually moving toward a recovery. I had work done on my combustion every day, and tests were done to determine the level and ability of strain my combustion could handle at that point. And the main thing necessary to heal it was to stay active. And that was hard because of the limited amount of stress that I could put my combustion through, but I was able to get back to it, though it was gradual. So, in spite of that huge setback, you qualified with most of your peers that didn't have to go through all the downtime that you had to. Yes, and actually I do remember a couple of my peers were shocked about my return. Ryan Shields was one, I can recall. But it was just so hard for everyone to believe. The executive of Gaskets was so impressed by me that he offered to sponsor me, which was really a blessing. Having Gaskets sponsor you is really desirable for a lot of racers, isn't it? Do you feel a lot of pressure representing Gaskets out there on the track each race? I mean, there is a lot of pressure, especially representing a company like Gaskets. But you know, I've got to be up on my game anyway to stay competitive. All of us racers are looking for the cutting edge that can give us the advantage in a race, so I guess that just comes with the sport of racing anyway. Well, that makes sense, so it just comes with the territory then. Exactly. We will be right back after this message.
Greetings, race fans. My name is Kevin Shifright, number 121, and I want to remind you, if you're a busy car and you always want to be prepared in case something happens to your clutch during an activity, and that's what Clutch Aid bandages are here for. Clutch Aid bandages will patch up an injury to your clutch and to help you keep moving. Clutch Aid bandages are designed to be comfortable and will last as long as you need them to get them fixed. That's why I always have a box of Clutch Aid bandages on hand.
We now return to the Turbo Tuesday Talk Show. Sage, you have a reputation for constantly staying active whether you're on the track or off. I couldn't help but hear that you were an avid dodgeball player. Is that true? Indeed it is true. I love dodgeball almost as much as racing. It's a good way to cool down from a workout and helps me with my agility. That's awesome. Say, do any of your fellow Piston Cup racers ever get involved in the dodgeball? Oh yeah, it's become a pretty big thing actually. A number of the racers and their team members have been joining in on the fun. Usually I host it after a tournament and it becomes an all-day event. Wow, really? Who would have thought that all the Piston Cup teams were a bunch of dodgeball players? Is anyone able to match your skills at dodgeball? Oh, definitely. Especially the Pitties. Most of them are some pretty fierce competition, since they have arms, you know? Oh, I guess I can see that, yeah. Oh yeah, and also Dirksen D'Agostino is really good, even though he hardly ever practices. Dirksen, really? I always thought he was pretty laid back. Oh, well, if you saw him in a dodgeball game, you'd be surprised. He's really quite a beast. I can't figure out what it is that makes him so good. He must just have a knack for it or something. Yeah, I guess he must. I say, Turbo Tractor, there's always plenty of room for more competition. How would you like to join in on a dodgeball game sometime? You know what? That actually sounds like fun. I just may have to take you up on that. Well, I'll tell you what, just join us down after a race someday. It's a blast. Well, thanks for the invitation, Sage. I'll see if I can make it sometime. We'll be waiting for you. Well, Sage, it's been great talking with you. We've been waiting to have you on the show for a long time. Thanks for joining us. Absolutely, Turbo Tractor. It's really been a pleasure. I'd love to come back sometime. Well, Sage, as I always ask, is there anything you'd like to say before we close today? Well, everyone, all I can say is stay persistent. Don't let any obstacles get in your way because there's always a way to overcome them. Well, that's some great advice. And everyone, that wraps it up for this episode. Tune in next Tuesday for another episode of the Turbo Tuesday Talk Show.